Okay, we're recording for this call for educational purposes. So welcome to our introductory Empathy Cafe. I'm Edwin Rutsch, Director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy, and this is our introduction into the Empathy Circle Facilitator training. It's sort of a orientation, sort of a meet and greet, and so welcome everyone for taking part. Just going to go over the outline of what we're going to do. We're going to have an introduction. Everyone can introduce themselves. We're going to have a short presentation of how to take part in the Empathy Circle Facilitator training. Go through the different web pages and the sign-up process. We'll have a Q&A and then go into how to do the Empathy Circle and then do an Empathy Circle here with us. And then we'll have a little debrief, and hopefully you'll want to sign up for taking part in the free training that we're holding in 2 weeks, starting in 2 weeks. So let's see, to begin with, just set our intention. So we'd like to set the intention for our Empathy Cafe that it's to build a culture of empathy, which means that for everyone to be heard and understood to their satisfaction. And we also make sure that that happens mutually. And we use mutual empathic listening for that process. And next, I guess we can just start with our introductions, your name, your location, and why you're interested in taking part in the Empathy Circle, facilitation training. And I'll just start with sort of model it. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area, smoky San Francisco at the present. And I've been working for about 14 years on the topic of empathy. Started the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy. And I've interviewed hundreds of empathy, experts. All those books are books on empathy. And I've interviewed most of the authors of those books and do a lot of different projects on how do we promote empathy, make a more empathic society. And from the years of working on empathy, how to create more empathy, I found that the Empathy Circle is sort of the easiest first step gateway practice for learning empathy skills and sort of an empathic mindset. It's not everything, but it's sort of the 20-80 rule. You do 20% of the work, you get 80% of the benefits. And it's sort of like that, where you learn this practice, and it's sort of foundational for all other empathy practices, it seems to me. So it's sort of a basic foundational building block. So I think it's a really good place to start. And my dream is that everyone in the world would learn how to just do this one simple process. And I think the world would be a better place for it. So that's why I really want to spread the practice as widely as possible. So with that, Bill, do you want to introduce yourself and why you're doing the training and facilitating, et cetera?
Sure. My name is Bill Filler. I'm a retired special education teacher. I'm here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I've done various things. I've been working almost going on 3 years, 2.5, 3 years I've been working with Edwin. I certainly want to endorse everything he said about the Empathy Circle and its effectiveness as a tool for building a culture of empathy. I'm doing the facility. I'm one of the trainers, along with Edwin, and also with Lou Zwire, who's a really gifted, I think, trainer. And I'm trying to help Edwin spread this and make this tool accessible to everyone. Also, for my own personal pitch, I'll just say that I'm working on empathy circles in schools, and I have adaptations. So if you know any teachers or something that are interested in this, after you do this, let me know, and I'll be happy to collaborate in any way that I can, or support you in what you're doing, not necessarily what I'm. So that's it. Thank you.
And was it Jennifer? I guess your full name's not there. So
yeah, it's Jennifer. Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer Sherson, and I didn't realize you guys were based in the Bay Area. I'd been in the Bay Area for about the last 25 years. And a year ago, almost today, we left the Bay Area and moved up to smoky Southern Oregon. So everybody out west is kind of ablaze right now. But I had, just to kind of give a little bit of background, I was kind of introduced to Edwin because I had been kind of trolling empathy sites. The topic of my dissertation was actually building empathy in the workplace. And he was kind enough to evaluate a tool that I designed as part of my dissertation. So whereas Bill is kind of looking to introduce this into schools, I am hoping to introduce this into the workplace and working on building a more empathic workplace. So I'm really excited about being able to add another tool to my toolbox. So happy to be here.
Oh, great. Welcome. AC, you want to go?
For sure. So my name's Alex, or AC, or Dude, or whatever. I'm calling in from Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, West Midwestern Canada, just a bit east of all the forest fires and the smoke and stuff. I got into this practice of empathy circles, reflective listening through the series on the XR 10 principles, and I found it just like invaluable for how wonderful of a tool it is to create this space to really like process our own thoughts, feelings, and connect in like deeper ways than I'd seen in other cases and situations. So stoked. Thanks for having me.
Oh, great. Welcome. Karen?
Hi, I am Karen from the UK. I live in London. My background, I'm a psychologist, a business psychologist, parent of 2, and I mention that because school at the moment is a big topic for me. I'm quite new to empathy circles. I only discovered it a few weeks ago, and everything that you've described about it, it just instantly clicked and resonated. It's like, yes, this is the gateway, as you described. I've been pretty much doing a kind of, I like the word trolling sites around democratic school processes and children going through self-directed learning. That's been my passion over the last few months, particularly within the wider system. So there's the education system, but it fits in the economic and political system, and it's all this complexity and systemic stuff.
I need some more.
And one of the issues is, you know, how to make headway with that. And then I came across empathy circles. I thought, this is it, this is the way in. So I've literally just finished a call with a group called Unschooling School, which is a movement that's just started to basically try and educate, I guess, schools into new ways of working with children, that they can be free learners. So using empathy circles seems like the perfect way to get progressive educators with traditional educators and parents and children and the whole group talking about, you know, listening to one another, rather than us just telling them, you need to do this.
Sorry, could I interrupt? Like, it's really interesting what you're saying. I just joined. But what, sorry, what is the name of the company or the group that...
The movement has just started, Unschooling School, it's called. I don't know if it helps to put it in the chat. Is that something I can maybe do after?
That would be amazing. Sorry, I really wanted to know, just because, yeah, like... That's brilliant. Great. Yeah, it sounds really good.
Very, very new, but I think that and I mentioned empathy circles to them just a few minutes ago, and they were all like, yes. So I've got goosebumps at the thought.
Are you sorry, because you've got a British accent. Are you in England or?
Yes, yeah, okay. London.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'm from Bristol originally, but I live in Madrid. But yeah,
okay, cool.
Okay.
Well, we're doing introductions now, so it sounds like a great connection with Bill, with his work, wanting to work with education. So Kate, welcome. We're just doing introductions, your name, where you're located, and why you're interested in the training, Empathy Circle Facilitator training.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm from Bristol originally in England. I've been living in Madrid though for 8 years, and I'm interested in empathy circles is for multiple reasons. But sorry, I've got this bandage on my hand because I just cut myself with a butter knife. Can you believe it? This is making some quick food. But yeah, so I became interested in empathy circles because, well, first of all, I work with young children in primary school, and kindergarten as well. I've done both. And I started learning a lot about neuroscience, and I read the book by Bruce Perry called Born for Love. If anyone's ever read that, it's brilliant. It's called Why Empathy is Important and Necessary. And it's a neuroscientific perspective about looking at childhood development and how important it is to have good attachment and be able to self-regulate and things like that. But it doesn't just talk about the child on an individual level. It talks about early childhood then having an impact on society, and the importance of empathy in society. So yeah, it's really interesting. And then I read another book which is called The Selfish Society, Why We Stopped Loving One Another and Made Money Instead. And so those kind of books really, and it's an American woman who wrote it, but she's looking at British society, which is quite similar in lots of ways with American culture. And it was just very interesting. Like, those books kind of spoke to my heart, or spoke to myself, and a lot of the things that I had learned. I'd studied sociology and psychology, and then I started working with young children. And it was kind of like puzzle pieces that all came together. And I really believe that, yeah, that society needs more empathy in general. And when you have empathy, you have more connection and understanding and tolerance and a more communicative and supportive society. And so I read those books. And then when I was in Thailand, I had this amazing experience where I was living in Thailand for 1 year to teach there. And there was an amazing sort of group, and it's very similar to the Empathy Circle, and you might be interested in it. It's called Aristotle's Cafe. And
I just want to, sorry, if you just want to finish, a quick introduction, not too long, but we're going to go into the Empathy Circle, and you'll have plenty of time to really kind of go into depth. So, because we want to hear everything that you're saying. So
very similar to this, though, but in a different way. Yeah. Okay,
thank you. With the Born for Love, I mentioned I had interviewed a lot of the authors, and I had interviewed Maya, who is the co-author with Bruce Perry of that book. Have it sitting up on the shelf there. So thank you. Rita?
Hi, my name is Rita, and I don't really have a reason particularly because I was in the same unschooling seminar as Karen, and she actually shared the link there, and I thought I'd join because it sounded fun. I have I'm a mother of young kids, and in the future I'm going to be working a lot with young kids. So I think it would be a really useful skill to have.
Oh, great. So yeah, well, welcome. Glad you could join us. So next I wanted to give a little overview of the sort of how to sign up, and I'll put in the link here, and I'm going to share the screen, and we're going to just go through the different screens here of how to take part. I think this will come up here. There we go. So I just put the link into here. This is sort of the landing page on Facebook. Hopefully you have an account there. Even if you don't have a Facebook account, I think you can still see this page. So this is our sort of landing page just about how to sign up and take part. I'm just going to play the video here. This is us holding an empathy circle at UC Berkeley with a class out on the lawn. And we have some of our facilitators, facilitating empathy circles with the students there. It was a class, actually. And we have this empathy tent that we also set up, and we set up in public spaces. And there it is in the background. And we offer listening and empathy circles. And we take it to public demonstrations, where the political left and right are sort of battling it out. And we offer listening to both sides and mediation as well. So then if you scroll down the page in the about, there's a bit about the, just about the training, how we form cohorts of 4 to 12 participants. And then there's the steps. First you're going to want to join this event, say going to this event. You can fill out the scheduling calendar. There's a a calendar for the dates and times that you have during the week. And then we kind of see what dates people have available. And we have been doing this training more for the US and UK, Europe time zone. But so we've done 3 of them for this time zone. The next one is going to be more geared for the Australian to US time zone. So it'll be a little hard for you in the UK probably to take part because it'll be like, you know, midnight or something like that. But we'll be doing another cohort probably next, kind of fits better for the UK time. You can review the training process. There's a link. I should have opened that up on our website here. It just goes through. So it just goes through steps to become a facilitator. This is on the empathyscircle.com website, and it just has you know, all kinds of links about the training. These are some past trainings that are recorded. This is like cohort 2, you know, we have the full training there. So it's just various information, you know, about that you can kind of dig in. There's a prerequisite to do take part in 3 empathy circles before you take part in this one, just so you have a bit of experience, you know, before you want to facilitate. And there's a calendar list here of events that you can go to. And this counts, taking part today counts as one of the prerequisites, you know, for one circle. And then you'll want to contact me. And we have the orientation calls. We had one last week. We have one today. And then next week we'll have another one. And then these are the actual cohorts. We just completed 3 and 4, and we're now setting up cohort 5. And then you can click through to the cohort page, which will take you, you know, to the Google Doc. And there's some more steps here that you can go to. The main one will be to fill out the application, and you click through to that. And there's a, you know, a Google form. So we just ask you like your email, your name, city. So you want to go through, fill that out. Want to make sure you can make all the dates. There's a training video, the how-to. You want to be sure that you've seen the how-to videos. And then just some questions about why you want to take part and some kind of general questions like that. And then if for the cohort, you know, we have the list of the days. You can see this is geared more for that's Australian Eastern time. That kind of works better for them. And then we actually have just 2 spots left for, I think if everybody's taking part, I think we have 2 spaces left for this next cohort. Then, yeah, so that's, you can go through, you can see this page, and then there's, you can go to the description, you know, click through on the description. I already had opened that here. Oh, there you are. Kate had just been talking to you. And the description, you can just go through. There's links to like the 25-minute video, how-to video, and then there's, you know, just all kinds of announcements. So this is really a good place to just kind of track what's happening. Like when we form, I think it'll be like cohort 6 for you in the UK that, you know, that you will post it here. Usually we do, the training is 2 weeks, then we do 2 or 3 weeks of these orientation calls, and then we have another cohort. So there's usually 1 cohort per month. And that was our cohort, I don't know, number 2 or so. And that was the last cohort for, and you know, you can go through and there's recordings and there's all kinds of material, you know, down this page. Yeah, there's the recordings of the past cohorts. You can kind of get a bit of a sense of what that was like. So that's yeah, that's sort of the basic intro. That's sort of the, you know, the paperwork for getting involved, the steps. You just go to that page, which I linked it, which the link is, you know, I just put in here, and you just follow the steps for signing up. And so I guess I'll just open it for any questions. Just any questions about the process or thoughts? Maybe Bill, if you want to add something, or I see.
The only thing that I would add is just to let people know that we do have an Empathy Cafe on Friday. So at 10 o'clock at this time, which would also count. So if you're looking to make that extra, circle, that's another time you can do it.
And Jennifer, did you have your hand up?
I think I was looking for more opportunities to participate to fill that prerequisite. So Bill helped me with that. Thank you.
Yeah, you can come next week too to this. You'll go through the orientation again, but I'm trying to do it as quickly as possible, and then we'll have an empathy circle in just a little bit here. So that's one of the three. That's two of the three, today and then next week, and then the Fridays.
Okay, yeah. That'll do it. Great, thank you.
Yeah, Kate, you're muted. You're muted.
Yeah, more or less, when will the training be for the UK? Will it be sort of January time, probably?
I would say it's going to be, when will it be? If we have this one it's October, we end October. So October 13 and 20, we'll probably do another one of these. So it'd be in the 27th of October, November 3rd, kind of that week, I think would be the next one for, that kind of fits for the UK better. We kind of switch between the time zones. Yeah.
Thank you.
And if there was a lot of demand, we can always add something, sooner, I guess, if there's, yeah. Okay, any other questions? Rita, anything? We don't see you, so I don't know if you're raising your hand or.
No, sorry, I'm just in my PJs, so that's
okay. Fair enough.
No, I don't have questions. I really need to look into it because, like I said, I just jumped into it, so I don't know too much information. And I don't want to ask you things that are already available, possibly on the website and such. So perhaps in the next one, I'll have more input.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's next week. You can see the intro, the how-to videos. So then if there's no questions, I'll just go over how the empathy circle works, and then we'll actually spend the rest of the time doing the empathy circle process. So the basic, there's some intro videos. Has anyone seen the intro videos? You've seen them, Jennifer? Kate? Yeah, okay. Kate, have you seen the how-to? Just wondering, not yet. So, okay. So it's good to see those. They kind of give a, in the intro, we can't cover everything. It's good to see it beforehand just so you have a bit of a, you can also watch some empathy circles, so you can see there's a training, a 9-minute how-to, and then there's a 24-minute how-to, and then you can also watch some empathy circles to see how they work. But it's a very simple process. We have 3 roles. There's the speaker, the active listener, and then the silent listeners. And the active listener is a person that is going to be speaking, and they select someone to speak. So I could speak to Bill. I would be the active listener. I would select Bill to listen to me. And then our topic is going to be, what is your experience of the empathy circle? Or why do you want to be an empathy circle facilitator, or anything that's on your mind? So we always have that as one of the, you can always talk about just whatever is sort of alive for you as well. Even if there is a topic, you can speak about what's up for you. And so you share a little bit. I would share a few, maybe 30 seconds or an idea or two with Bill. And then I would pause, and Bill would reflect back his understanding of what I'm saying. And then I would sort of check, did Bill understand what I'm saying? And if so, I would continue speaking. And if he didn't get what I was saying, I would say it again, maybe in different words. So until I feel that he's really understood what I'm saying. And then Bill is, as a listener, he's listening to what I'm saying and then just reflecting back in his own words, his understanding of, of what I was saying. So then, it just continues like that. I share some more, he reflects back, I share some more, reflect back, check if he understood. And then we have 5-minute turns. And when the 5 minutes is up, I'll be doing the timing, and I have just hold up the time. And that means that, your time is up and you can sort of finish up what you were saying. If you finish up your thought, you get your final reflection. And at that point, it would be Bill's turn. Then he becomes the the speaker, and he would select someone, maybe AC. He would select AC. He would speak to AC. AC reflects back, and it continues like that. Then 5 minutes is up. Or if you don't have anything else to say, you've spoken for 2 minutes or something, you have nothing else to say, you can say, I feel fully heard. And then it's the other person, the listener becomes the speaker. And then we just continue like that for the time allotted. And and then we have like 10 minutes at the end. We just stop and just have sort of a quick 1 minute debrief for each person, and then that's it. So the easiest way is just to do it and to observe and just take part, and so we can get started with that. I'll keep time, 5-minute turns, and if someone wants to select me to speak to, I can just sort of model the empathic listening to begin with, and we can just get started. And again, I'll just mention the topic is what is your sense? What do you feel about the empathy circle? What's your experience? Or what questions do you have about it, or anything that's up for you too? So it's pretty open too. So whoever would like to start, let's get started. We have about an hour and a half. Okay, Karen, I'm listening.
Yeah, I'll give it a go. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What I particularly love about empathy circles, and what I've seen from videos, is that there's just time to talk, and people talking about their feelings as well. Time to talk about feelings, which is just so powerful. So I've been really looking forward to experiencing it live. And with a couple of people that I've seen doing it, like the experts, like, yes.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is you've observed some empathy circles. What you're really appreciating is that there's sort of this time and space to be heard, and there's a quality of kind of going into feelings, and I'm seeing some kind of excitement about that and actually doing it now.
Yeah, very much so. And as well as the excitement, I think I've been feeling quite calm as well, because normally I feel quite, I don't really like Zoom meetings. I'm out of my comfort zone being in this kind of environment with my face staring back at me. It's like, oh God, really? It's not really the natural way that I like to communicate, but obviously I'll do it. But with this meeting, I felt, I really didn't mind. I felt quite calm, because I thought, oh, it's okay. I can just relax. I don't have to be fighting to, get my voice heard, or like, right, okay, how am I going to kind of get in there now? It's like, I'm going to have time. I can talk about feelings. I can relax. I felt excitement, but also a real sense of calm, which is lovely.
Okay, so I'm hearing that you had a bit of anxiety about the Zoom format in general, but then doing it in an empathy circle is actually a feeling of calmness and maybe excitement that, oh, you realize, oh, I don't have to fight to be heard. I'm going to be heard, and there's space for me to be heard. And you kind of have some excitement about that, and some calmness too.
Lovely, yeah. And the other part of it that I really love is the chance to express all of this that's going on in my mind. All these books is sort of in my head, and having the time and to clarify things and share and be heard and hear other people's views, because there's so much sort of complexity going on in my mind. So trying to get that out normally in a Zoom meeting where you're fighting for space and you have to articulate something very quickly and coherently, it's like, so this again, to have the opportunity to express and get the clarity is, I really appreciate.
Yeah, you're really appreciating that. I mean, you've read all these books and all this on your mind, and here's a space where you can sort of process that. And you don't have to do it with competition. You don't have to be tense and nervous about competing to be heard. And it gives you a space to kind of think, talk about the things that are on your mind.
That's great. I mean, I feel fully heard for now because I know that there'll be time to talk about all this other stuff. But for now, I think that's great.
Okay,
Thank
you feel fully heard, and that was, you still had a minute and a half, but you feel heard. So AC, can I speak to you? Yeah, I love hearing like what Karen is saying about the benefits of the empathy circle, because that's what I like about it too, is like in normal conversations, I always find it hard to find a space to kind of get into the conversation. It's like some people are really good at it, and I'm not very good at it. It's like, and then the more I don't get heard, the more I kind of withdraw. And then I don't get heard and I withdraw more, and then I get kind of resentful. But in an empathy circle, you get your time. I know I'll be heard, and it kind of helps me kind of to stay present.
So I'm hearing a similar, and like building off of what Karen said, looking at a lot of the benefits of the empathy circle, especially the time allotted and dedicated to filling into the conversation and knowing where that space is to add. You've noted that, in maybe some other conversations where you have to kind of bid your way in, then you said you were prone to like withdrawing when it doesn't land.
Yeah, and the other is growing up, have family members like parents that just talk and talk and talk and talk. And it's like, and then they say, why aren't you saying anything? And I'll start saying something, and it's just a gateway for them to start talking again. It's like, here, I've got my time and space, and you've got to listen, So it's, so it's kind of that aspect I like too.
Yeah, so I'm hearing a lot of like appreciation for that dedicated space to voice and to participate in the conversation.
Yep, I feel fully heard.
Cool. Okay, next on my screen, I see Katie. May I speak to you?
Hey, hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. Apart from my finger. It's okay. I just got in from school and I tried to make avocado and toast and I injured myself. Anyway,
so AC will now speak to you. So yeah.
Okay.
So I hope that your finger heals up really quick and that it's all fine in a short time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you just want to reflect back what you heard him say? Just what did you hear AC say?
Okay. Sorry. I've been in a rush today. Yeah, thank you for that. That was very thoughtful of you to think about my finger. Yeah, I really liked what you and also Karen said.
Oh no! All you do is reflect back. You just say, "Oh,
that's it."
Yeah, that was it. That you got it. You just mentioned it. Yeah, so that was.
That's it.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. It. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
And then hang on. What do I do now? Sorry.
Well, he will speak again to you. He'll keep speaking, and then he'll pause, and you just reflect back what you hear him say.
So. Okay, sorry. I've actually been distracted by my finger. It's fine. Okay.
No worries. I'm definitely on this page as well that Karen and Edwin are on, as far as like entering the conversation, knowing like when to step in with my voice and participate, like contribute my thoughts and stuff. And in like very similar scenarios with the family, like big family always just kind of like going at the conversation, which maybe has led me to be a little more quiet and reserved and stuff. So this is I really appreciate the format for just airing out that space and holding that practice of like speaking, as well as listening.
Yeah, I think it's really a great skill to learn how to be an active listener, but also, like you said, to be able to know when to speak and how to approach it. And I feel that that's quite difficult, especially if you are quite an empathic person, because you are constantly thinking about how others in the room feel, and that you don't want to overstep the mark, and you don't want to step on their toes and inhibit them from speaking. So then you maybe, like Edwin was saying, you kind of go into yourself and then you stop yourself from speaking. So yeah, it's a good way, like you were saying, to learn how to communicate and know when and how to speak up.
Did you feel heard, AC?
Yeah, I feel pretty heard. I feel pretty heard. So that's what I appreciate about this practice as far as the speaking aspect. And then there's like also the listening aspect, which is that just training myself to be able to hold that space for other people, because I know just having experienced, right, the kind of like sometimes you feel like you're talking to a wall with people, like, but just like in the way that the conversation goes. And so practicing listening myself, I have faith that will, I don't know, just like let itself out into the world and just return itself through like circles of karma or whatever metaphysics you either do or do not subscribe to.
It's difficult to I kind of completely get what you're saying. Like, it's difficult to sort of know how to speak, when to speak. Like, going back to what you said earlier about families talking a lot and everything, and like I think we can maybe all relate to that, because I think perhaps emotional intelligence wasn't really valued when we were growing up, and it definitely maybe not in our parents' generation. And so knowing how to listen, to empathize, and to say something when you need to say it, and to be an active listener. And I definitely
just trying to reflect. You're not trying to relate. You're just trying to reflect back what you were hearing AC say.
Okay.
It's like we're trying to just focus on AC. What did he say, and reflect back to his satisfaction. You know what?
Okay, I'm doing very well today. Yeah.
Well, it's a learning process. That's what we're here for, is to kind of learn this process. So that's part of the learning.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Well, that was the time too, but yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Just finish up your reflection if you like, then.
No, I was just saying that I thought what he was saying was a really valid point, in terms of sometimes you can feel you're speaking a different language to somebody when you're speaking the same language, but it's just a way of connecting with that person, and that's a good skill to learn. Yeah.
And the other part I heard was that by listening to others, that he's hoping that will spread throughout the society, right? That it'll send out good karma. So that was the other part. So yeah, and that was the time too. So now it's your turn, Kate. So you select who you would like to speak to, and they'll reflect back.
Okay. Sorry,
you have 5 minutes. This is good learning. This is what we're here for. We're here to learn the process and to practice.
Okay, I'm being terrible. Sorry, I've had a really long day. It's my second week of work. Okay, so first new job. So this is J.S. Herson. I don't know your actual full name.
That's okay. It's Jennifer. Yeah, Jennifer. And I'm happy to listen to you, Kate.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm talking about now why I decided to join the Empathy Circle, right?
Anything you want, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
okay. So there's quite a few reasons. My older sister has high functioning autism, and it's always been very difficult for her to be able to express how she feels. And for many years, she's the eldest in my family, because I was born in 1985. She was born in 1979. And there was not much knowledge about autism and the autistic spectrum at that point. And she never got diagnosed until her late 20s. So I kind of, like, as a younger sister, and I think that I'm probably an empath, I kind of observed her, watched her, and tried to understand her. So maybe that's what led me on to trying to understand people that are difficult to understand, and empathizing with her situation. But yeah, then
remember to pause. Let
Oh,
Jennifer
yeah,
reflect
sorry.
back her understanding.
Sorry. Oh,
and
God,
and as the listener, you can, if it starts to be a lot, you can say, "Oh, can you just pause?" You can request a pause too. So.
Okay, I'm going to stop. Yeah, you carry.
Yeah. Okay. That's no problem. So what I'm hearing from you, Kate, about kind of your interest in participating in empathy circles is that your eldest sister was actually diagnosed late in life with autism, but it sounds like you spent a lot of time kind of observing her behavior and trying to understand her. And so this is kind of another conduit or an opportunity for maybe, you know, to listen and to understand and continue that learning.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, definitely. I feel, for example, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people at school that didn't really understand her and everything, and she struggled because of that. And, you know, and I just don't think it's like a case of my sister. That's not just an example. Like, it can be with many things, whether it's someone struggling or in general, or whether it's some, I don't know, social like difficulty or disposition, or there needs to be, I think in schooling in general and education, that emotional intelligence and empathy and communication skills are not as valued as other subjects.
Okay, can I interrupt you just for 1 second? So I'm making sure I'm hearing what you're saying. So
yeah,
you were using obviously your sister's situation and maybe feeling like she wasn't understood, but that the process of the empathy circle benefits not just individuals that have autism, but maybe other individuals that are, for instance, in the school system, maybe are socially ostracized or just quiet, that it allows them an opportunity to also be heard and understood.
Yeah, that's right, definitely. I think that this kind of dynamic, this kind of setup would be very beneficial in education in schools, because, like AC was saying, that it's something that's free, and that's something that can kind of encourage people to listen and to understand each other, because we all face difficult situations, and we all have busy lives, and sometimes we get distracted to not listen or understand somebody. But I think that, yeah, it's an important skill to learn.
Okay, so I'm hearing that you're emphasizing the value of having a place and a dedicated time where, whether it be children in the school system or maybe just individuals that are in modern day, have busy lives and are distracted, to give them a time to, one, focus on their thoughts and feelings, express those, and then also be heard.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I feel heard. Yeah, but definitely.
Cool. All right. It's my turn. Okay. Karen, you haven't listened yet, have you?
I'm happy to listen.
Okay, cool. I'll be excited to hear you reflect too, because I love both of your accents. Unlike Edwin and AC, I grew up in a family where I don't necessarily have trouble getting time, and I am not uncomfortable battling for my time. I do definitely, in terms of working in the background of organizational development and human resources and things, it's important for me to recognize that other people need the time. And I find that I often am advocating for those individuals to carve out space for them. So empathy circles, I think, have a huge value in the workplace for those individuals that I'm wanting to hear their contributions.
I love your accent too.
What accent?
So what I hear you say is that you haven't really had much trouble being heard and finding space to get your pet points across. But you work in an area of human resources where it's important to hear people's views, and there might be people there who perhaps don't feel that they can get their voices heard. So this will be a really good way, really good process to allow them to be heard and to use it in that kind of context.
Absolutely. And I think one of the other aspects that I really value is, I think, in the workplace in particular, because that's kind of where my focus is with this, there's a general consensus that we don't bring emotion and feelings to work. And I think, when we are having meetings, when we are having conversations, it's less about feelings and kind of what's happening for us. It's more about the task. And I think that by being able to provide a dedicated space and making all topics essentially kind of available or okay to talk about, that we're encouraging people to kind of bring those other parts of themselves, because we are whole people when we enter the workplace, whether they tell us to leave our emotions at the door or not. It gives us an opportunity to kind of vocalize a lot of the baggage and stuff that we're bringing into these spaces, and to get empathy, to get support, and I think just to kind of express ourselves as whole people, which is really, I think, important to me.
So another element of the work context is this kind of ethos of not really talking about feelings, leaving that at the door and just talking about tasks and what we're here to do in terms of work. But we're whole and complex people that come with all sorts of issues and feelings and all sorts of things. We're not just two-dimensional. So this will give an opportunity to really open up the conversation, to talk about all different aspects and give time to that and a space for that to be heard and expressed.
Yes, thank you. And I also really, what AC said about kind of putting it out there, for me, obviously in the HR world, we always kind of talk about modeling good behaviors. And so by really kind of engaging, whether it's through karma, I don't have as much faith in karma because I'm a bit of a cynic, but I do believe that by modeling positive behaviors, by modeling active and empathic listening, that other people who may not necessarily be familiar or skilled in the task will start to kind of pick up some of those habits. So I'm really encouraged by kind of just, again, spreading, sharing the model. I think nothing but good can come from it. So I'm really, really excited to learn more.
So I hear that you're really excited about using this model and having a process that, sorry, I've just gone blank. I heard everything you said. Give me a moment. So having a model, yes, so a model that that models the empathy, and so that people can actually see it being done, and it's live and part of what you do. And someone who might not be so familiar with the whole issue of empathy and what it's all about can actually see it live and have a structured process to use.
And hope that it's contagious. So thank you, and I feel heard.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so back to me again. So it's either Bill or Rita. Rita, do you feel like you want to? Do you want to just watch, or are you happy to listen?
Well, I can give it a try, but I have kids screaming in the background, so I'm not sure.
Well, would you prefer if I talk to Bill so you can just keep watching? And
Yes, I think I'm going to stick this one out, and then I might join the next one with when I get more knowledge.
cool. Okay. All right. Well, I'll talk
Thank
to Bill.
you, though.
Okay. You're welcome. So, Bill, will you hear me?
Happily, yes.
Okay. Well, I felt so fully heard from the last one. I feel complete and relaxed at the moment. I'm actually wondering about whether I could start delving into some of the work areas that I've been involved in, but I'm happy for you to reflect back to give me a bit of thinking time.
Sure. So you're feeling fully heard, and you're just kind of like, there's a feeling aspect of it, and then you're feeling relaxed and stuff. And then you're contemplating what you next want to focus on. And so you're kind of organizing your thoughts at this point.
Absolutely. So I'm feeling it's possibly not the right time because we haven't got the subject matter in front of us of, talking about the new human rights movements and economic models and systemic and complexity thinking. So yeah, it might be that I'm just kind of feeling heard at the moment in terms of this topic about what empathy circles are about. I'm hearing what people are saying, it's resonating. I feel I've expressed most of what I've wanted to say. And for now, anyway.
Sure. So you're contemplating, there's a whole bunch of information and study and research that you've done, and you're kind of like fitting those in. It feels like what fits into the empathy circle, and you're kind of like, not quite seeing it. And then it comes back to the feeling sense that you feel heard. And so you're just feeling very satisfied. It feels to me that you're feeling very satisfied by that, and just sort of like happy with the experience, and then kind of looking at and waiting for the next step.
Perfect. Yeah, I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Okay, pleasure. All right. And I guess Rita, you're just kind of observing now. Okay, so let me do that. Okay, AC. Okay. So first of all, I have to say that every chance that I have to add some silliness to the empathy circle, I really like it. And so when you said dude, of course, that's where I went, because I remember I saw a comedian who said that you can actually have like a whole conversation just using the word dude. And it's just sort of like, dude, 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 dude. So it kind of goes like something like that. And you know it. And, there's something communicated there. And so I just really love it. And when I love the names, and we were talking about, there's a man from Uganda. My name, Bill Filler, is very boring. It's too much alliteration. And so much so, when I come up and I say, my name is Bill, people go, Bob? And it's sort of like, so I've always been somewhat disappointed in my name. I'll stop there. It's tough to handle, AC. Go ahead.
Word. So I hear you're, you're like looking to add humor to things, and you mentioned your tendency to kind of like add goofy things, and your appreciation for the dude, for the term dude.
Yeah.
The tonal, like the text that can be carried through like subtext, intonation, and so forth.
Dude. And so, and that's sort of what I just kind of doing that, as we all have our visions of a culture of empathy, but I grew up in the 60s, and so I went through the old hippie revolution and things like that. And what the transition from the kind of the hippies to the new age was that everything got very pastel. Everything got, and gone was the trenchant humor of Paul Krasner in The Realist, and some of the great thinkers and comedians and things like that. And it all came out to like, I'll stop there.
Okay, so I hear you reflecting on and sharing your experience growing up, like from the time of like the hippie movement, and then as it turned into this new age thing. I'm a little distracted just by what you mean by pastel.
Yeah. Pastels are so kind of light colors and stuff, and I have nothing against pastels. But I remember we went to the some friends and I went to the Harmonic Convergence in 1986, which, if you remember, we're still alive. We saw the people dance every thing like that. There's got to be a dancer with the pastel veils, and they're diaphanous, and they go back. And I have nothing against that, but enough is enough. And so what was it? Woody Allen said, I hope there's no reincarnation because I don't want to have to come back and see another Ice Capades. So I sort of feel like that about the pastel veils. So I'll stop there.
Okay, so you mentioned the term veil, and it sounds like this shift into the new age and the pastel gains more by way of like color and maybe the superficial kind of like light and glittery aspects of it, maybe, as opposed to you mentioned earlier about something a little more like, I don't know, I almost want to say gritty about like the hippie movement.
Right. A little grit would be nice. That's what I'm saying. And I'm really excited. Every time I come here, I kind of get re-energized to see all your smiling faces and people who are really serious about listening to each other. And I think that there's a lot of work to do, but I really agree with Edwin, and I think this is a wonderful tool. It all starts with listening to each other. And I'll stop there.
Yeah, so I hear your rejuvenation and revitalization in taking the time to practice this, seeing people's smiling faces and just experiencing the whole listening process.
Thanks, Alex. I feel fully heard.
Cool. Thanks, Bill. Okay, Edwin, you haven't gone in a while. May I speak to you?
I'm listening.
So I want to echo Bill's regenerative sentiments, because I every time I leave these things, I'm just like so full of, I don't know, like empathy, I guess, right? But so full, like I feel regrounded in myself, headspace, and heart, and all that. And so like there's a bunch of value there, just in taking the practice, regardless of the topic.
So you want to build on what Bill was saying about that when you're done, after you leave the practice, you feel energized and you have a good feeling, and just really, yeah, it's very kind of meaningful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also like what Jennifer said about modeling, and I think we're thinking about the same thing there, where it's just like, I'm gonna do this, and then naturally, like monkey see, monkey do, at some point, it'll just build and expand in that way. And so it's very like comforting and like hopeful to know how I feel at the end of these sessions, which motivates me to propagate them out into like my networks, in the hopes that I can almost gift other people the same, at least opportunity, if not the same experience.
And you're building on what Jennifer was saying about the modeling, that resonates with you, that you can take part and you feel energized, but you're also modeling the process, the sort of the mindset to others. It's building on that, sending the ripples out, but through modeling. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, I feel really heard.
Yeah, feeling really heard. So, okay, then I will speak to Kate then.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's see what comes up. I had done an empathy circle with someone that had, I guess, Asperger's or autism. And so I have some curiosity about if you did a empathy circle with your sister, how that would work.
Yeah, well, I think it would be beneficial.
If you just reflect back what you're hearing me
Yeah,
say.
sorry. Yeah. So I think actually, I think what you're saying, I think that's really interesting that you're saying that, because I think there's, okay. I think that's a really interesting comment. And
can you just reflect back the comment? What did I say? Just
you said, well, okay. So how, yeah, it's interesting that you're saying that how would it be for my sister to have an empathy circle?
Yeah, exactly. And then I had done an empathy circle with someone who had autism too, and I thought it went fairly well.
Okay. I kind of want to ask you questions on it, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, so I hear that. You really want to ask questions, but all you got to do is reflect back. When it's your turn, you can say anything you want, but just here I get to get heard.
Okay, so yeah, so that's pretty good. I think that's a really positive thing that you did empathy circles with people with Asperger's.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is the empathy circle for conflict, I think, is another important part. Is that, a conflict, all the emotions, everything's all sort of knotted together, and people are mad at each other. And the empathy circle, when people can hear each other, it's like it sort of slowly unravels the knot. Every time you do a reflection, you kind of hear the other person, and it unravels conflict. So the empathy circle can go into, it's sort of the foundation of conflict resolution.
I think that's really accurate. I can hear what you're saying there about, by listening to somebody fully, I think people have the opportunity then to, like you said, unravel the emotions. So to put their emotions on the back burner and listen to somebody else's and acknowledge them and really sort of process them.
Yep.
I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's almost like a knot, right? It's like the threads of the knot become unraveled in the empathy circle.
Yeah. So I think, unraveling those, because, for example, like Jennifer said, in the workplace and everything, we're expected to put our emotions to one side and at the door. And that's almost, kind of thinking that humans are two-dimensional, and we're not. And I think that can create knots, like you're saying, and people to feel like they're holding a lot of things in, and it gets knotted up. And I think actually by active listening, like you're saying, you get the opportunity to be really heard, and both people, the person that's talking and the person that's listening, are able to kind of process everything properly.
Yeah, so that's close. It's getting there.
I'm terrible today. Yeah. Okay.
So just reflect that. I said it's close. It's getting there. So if you just reflect that back.
I don't know what to say. I don't know.
Just what did you hear me say? What did I just say? Yeah.
You just said it's close. I'm getting there. But
yes, yes, I feel heard.
Sorry, God, I thought I was.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
I'm terrible. Sorry, I've had a really hard day.
Yeah. So yeah, you get to say whatever. When it becomes your turn, you can say anything you want. You can talk about a hard day. You can talk about anything you would like. So now if you could just reflect that back, what did you hear me say?
Hang on, which part? The part now?
Yeah, when it becomes your turn, you can talk about anything you would like.
Okay.
Everything's, yeah.
And so you mean that I can kind of...
No, if you just reflect that back, what did you hear me say?
That I can talk about anything that I like.
When it's your turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, I feel fully heard. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Now it's your turn.
Beginning to think that I might have autism. Jesus. Right. Okay. Yeah,
And first you select who you're going to speak to.
Okay, I'm terrible. This is so bad. Okay, I'll speak to Karen because she's British. I feel a bit more comfortable. Sorry.
Okay, I'm listening.
Okay, thanks, Karen.
And you can reflect that first part. What did you hear her say? What did you hear?
I actually missed.
Listening.
Oh, right. Oh, no, I reflect. So I think Edwin's saying I reflect what I heard you say. And you said that you were happy to talk to me, but I couldn't hear why. I don't know whether
because you're British.
Oh, because I'm British. That's what I thought. Okay.
I'm joking. It's just the accent. I don't know. I'm feeling like, I don't know, I'm put on the spot here. Yeah. So what was I going to say? Yeah, I really agree with Jennifer in terms of what she was saying about the workplace, for example, that, you know, we're meant to be putting our emotions to one side and just going into work and being almost robotic. And I don't think that that makes any sense because we're human and we're not two-dimensional and we're very complex. Yeah, and I think if the workplace acknowledged that, I think everybody would feel happier.
So I hear that you're saying that you agree with what Jennifer was saying about modelling empathy circles in the workplace or using it in the workplace in order to open up conversations and acknowledge that people are more than just two-dimensional robots who have no feelings, that we're much more complex, and this allows for that complexity to come to the surface and be acknowledged and heard.
Yeah, that's right. I feel heard. Yeah, and I just what somebody else said as well, that, you know, this kind of modeling this behavior, I think it was Jennifer and AC that said it as well, that modeling a different type of behavior, because I think we're still very much influenced by, you know, mass production and factory working, and you can even see that reflected in our education system, stuffing 30 children into a classroom and with one teacher and thinking that they're really all going to learn and their numbers. So, I mean, I think that we're still kind of in some regards in the workplace, apart from the exceptions, we're still functioning in that way, where we're almost just doing things very methodically and logically, without critically engaging, without being able to be dynamic and be human. So I think the development of empathy is a new model. I think it's like, for example, you know, you kind of, I've noticed in the workplace that before, when I was working,
pause there and I'll reflect what I've heard and then
go on.
Remember what you're about to say, because I'm very interested.
Okay.
So you were just saying that you really appreciate what Jennifer and AC were saying about modelling empathy as a new way of communicating in organisations, because up to now and historically we've tended to be quite robotic, which comes from our school system, the way we're educated, the way our society is structured. It doesn't really allow for that complexity and three-dimensionalness of human beings. So having a new process. So empathy is a really important process, you feel?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And that was really good. That was well said. Yeah, so I do feel, for example, that, yeah, we've been working in this way so quickly and for so long where we haven't had time to reflect on it. And perhaps if we took a step back and had a different way of being in the workplace, because I think you know, that model of being competitive and methodical and logical, and putting them, you know, being not thinking about the other person and thinking just about yourself, is a model which has been repeated and copied, because it's the only model that we know. And I feel like a lot of people copy that model. And I definitely have noticed there's more empathy now in the workplace than there was. I had a part-time job when I was like 14 or something. And yeah, there's just lack of emotional intelligence and a lack of empathy to what was happening at home or whatever. There's a bit more now, but still it hasn't fully. People are sort of talking about it and pretending, but they're not doing. It's not following through, you know, to HR or to on a deeper, more profound level.
Okay, so I'm hearing that you're really appreciative of this model being used in the workplace, because historically, in your experience as well, having worked in a job at 14 when you really didn't feel that there was much empathy, and it's got a bit better in terms of people talking about empathy, but you're not really seeing it modeled. So this process is a good way of us actually seeing it.
Perfect. Yeah, I feel heard.
Lived. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So Jennifer, can I talk to you?
Absolutely. Happy to listen.
Okay. My British accent.
Absolutely. You can say anything you want. Phone book, alphabet, just bring it on.
Okay, so I guess what I'll just express now is just that feeling of, you know, I didn't really have much to say the last time, because I am quite a thinker, I suppose. I, you know, think a lot, of reading a lot, listening to stuff. So I suddenly thought, oh, I've got to say something with my thinking. And after I'd felt heard from Bill, I thought, oh, wow, it's so cool that I can just relax and just enjoy the feeling of, it doesn't matter that I didn't have anything to say, but, you know, it's okay. You know, everything's okay. So that feeling of okayness was really coming through, and I really appreciate that. Yeah.
So I'm hearing that you said this last round, when you had an opportunity to be the speaker, that you maybe were a little conflicted and worried about not having anything to say at that point. But then after having Bill listen to you, you felt so fully heard and felt okay. That you just shared whatever was on your mind, whether it was long or short, that you feel really good about this being a space where you can kind of choose to participate, but if you don't have anything to share, there's no pressure. Is that right?
Absolutely, perfect. Like right now, I feel like I can pause and think, because I am a bit of a, you know, as an introvert, I sometimes need time to just process and think. And I think, you know, this is my time now. I can just sit here and just pause for a few seconds, not feel rushed, see what comes up. And it's just so cool. So I'm just lapping it up at the moment, just having this space.
So continuing on kind of with that vibe that you're riding this wave of positivity and just feeling really good about having dedicated time, and you can feel free to do whatever you want in that time. And again, not feel pressured to do anything in particular. And you're laughing it up both internally and externally. Kind of, you seem joyous about just having this space and time.
Yeah, really, I really, really am. So thank you, that was perfect. And I've got a little bit more time, so I'm going to just sit here and up a bit more. Yeah, no, I really appreciate everything that you've all been saying. And the workplace, as an occupational psychologist, the workplace is somewhere that I can see this process being really powerful. I've come out of that now for the last few years. partly because I've got a bit more time, so I'll get into it a bit. So partly because I could see that really, even though when I first started in the work, I could see that I could just change the world. But after a while, I realized it was all about the bottom line ultimately. And that's why I got kind of disillusioned and thought, I was more interested in the bigger picture and the global issues, and rather than just that. So that's why I moved away. So there's a lot there.
Yeah. So you started out again by kind of basking in the glow, I think, and still this feeling of just having the space and knowing that you had more time and relishing in that you were going to take your full time. And then you started to transition into kind of reflecting on some of the things that the other members had talked about in terms of applying empathy circles at work, and seeing the potential value of that. But you, as an occupational psychologist, had not as positive maybe as an experience of that sort of sharing and openness and providing dedicated space for folks while you were in the workplace. And it's been a while since you've been there, and you've been focusing maybe on more global and broader issues more recently.
That's great. Thank you. I feel fully heard. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me listen. All right, Bill, dude, are you
all
ready?
Right, dude, I'm here.
Dude. So I too am. I'm really enjoying myself. I think we've talked a little bit, and I mean it's interesting hearing Karen talk about being disillusioned. I see this time, this really kind of tragic and tormenting time where I feel like we're kind of all under attack via pandemic, via natural disaster, via violence in society. For me, this is an opportunity because I think people are looking for a space and a place to be able to share their emotions and their feelings.
So you're reflecting on your experience here right now, which is very accepting and open, as opposed to the societal pressures, the pandemic, the smoke, the violence in society, and that people are looking for something. And that you're finding some of what, at least what I assume, that they're looking for exists in this sort of format where people can just relax and be heard.
I think so. And I think that the tragedies and the things that I listed are actually providing an opportunity, because I think it's difficult to introduce, and I think Kate kind of mentioned that too, this type of new format. Are people ready for it? Is the workplace ready for it? Are they going to welcome it and be open to it? And I think that there's literally nobody on the planet now that is not being touched by probably one of those three things. And they need, and I think the workplace is starting to recognize that people need a space at work to be able to process through some of the feelings that they have related to those experiences. So I think this is timely, is what I'm trying to say. And I think there's an opportunity for us to inject this and have it be received.
Right. So you're saying that these societal pressures then are creating an opportunity for some sort of practice like this to be utilized. And you're seeing that also because of there's so much dysfunction that the powers that be and the general populace are looking at alternative ways. So rather than the workplace being simply a task-oriented place, boom, 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 there's an emerging consciousness about the need for people to feel heard and integrated and emotionally accepted.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think you got it right on the head. And yeah, I just really am excited because I think that all of this is one of the reasons I think that I was motivated to kind of reach out to Edwin at this time and maybe not previously is I think that with our, what do we call it, our sheltering in space and quarantines and things, I don't know about everybody else, but I've had a lot of time to think and for self-reflection. And I think that things in certain ways, all of these crises have forced us to slow down and reflect. And so given that we really hadn't had time to kind of think about how we're feeling, most of us go through the day not thinking about even how we're feeling, that now there's this internal recognition that I have some stuff that I want to say. I have some stuff that's on my mind and I need a place to be able to do that and be listened to.
So you're relating what you said earlier about the societal conditions with your own personal journey, which was that you hadn't contacted Edwin earlier because you really hadn't had that time to slow down and reflect, and that these conditions have forced not only you but other people. But in your contemplation and reflection, you felt then this was the right way to go. In other words, to contact Edwin and make a move in this direction.
Yeah. And just generally that I'm just really excited about being able to participate in this, being able to find more like-minded folk that see the value. It is, like AC said, it's energizing, it's invigorating, and I feel hopeful. So thank you very much, Bill, for listening to me.
Sure. So you're really feeling hopeful and energized by this experience, which is different, which is, emphasizing listening and care and things like that. And then you feel a camaraderie or community forming. And this is very important to you.
Yeah. Thank you. I feel heard.
Great. Okay. All right. Karen.
Yep, I'm listening.
Okay. I will also say that I don't have an accent.
You do to me.
Yeah, I know. I have a New York accent. Talk, water.
I love it.
Okay. So I'm really hearing, I'm one of the trainers, and so I'm really hearing what you're saying, and so I find this very helpful as to what you want to do. And I think that both what Kate, Karen, and Jennifer are talking about is an evolving culture. And I really look for some fruitful discussions as we all find our path that way towards introducing the empathy circle or practice like this into areas where traditionally it's not valued. I'll stop there.
So I'm hearing that you're sort of interested and I almost want to say invigorated, even though I didn't use that word, but
it's okay.
Interested about what the areas we were talking about, particularly around schools and work environments, and how we can apply that, and for you to possibly support us in applying it in these kind of contexts.
Right. And also open to you supporting me in some way, or getting insights from you guys about things I don't know. Again, I think there's a lot of capacity here. And so as people are meeting self in the empathy circles, people are bringing quite a lot to the table.
So you're also excited about the fact that we can also share information, that we can, we're all learning from each other. And there's been various things that have been brought to an empathy circle situations or tables that you've found really interesting and that you've learned from.
Mm-hmm. And I think that in adapting the empathy circle to both work and school, there's an initial resistance between task-oriented time, and then you have to make the case that essentially doing the empathy circle will benefit but it's hard for people to see when they want to get to, like, let's get this done. And so it's hard for them to see the benefit of slowing down when that seems to be the opposite of what they need to do. I'll stop there.
So you can see that there's a challenge in some respects with introducing empathy circles into school and work contexts that are very structured and potentially quite rigid and have a very definite way of operating, and then introducing empathy circles.
And it takes time for that to happen. And the question is, how do you carve out time? Or the opposite thing, how do you break the empathy circle into steps that are digestible so that they can fit within these existing structures? I'll stop there.
Okay. So part of the challenge is for them to see the value, or getting them to see the value of empathy circles is really through experiencing it. And so carving out time to have that experience is part of what you can possibly support with, or that we can work out together a way of doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have worked on for schools breaking things down, but I'll give an example. Like in XR, Extinction Rebellion, a lot of people, you know, they do actions and they're very action oriented. And so what's come back to us is that, well, how does this help? You know, because we've got to do this and we've got to organize. And so my, you know, my message, my experience, my 2 cents, so to speak, is that it doesn't help you in doing that particular task. But if you take the time to listen to each other, then your communication will be much more effective and you'll save time on the back end because you'll establish the trust and good communication habits you need in order to accomplish those tasks.
Okay, so you've done some work in breaking down the processes for schools or different contexts, and for the XR groups, they've sometimes questioned, you know, how is this going to help us with our action planning? And it might not directly, but it helps with them with their communication and collaboration, which then can feed into them taking actions in a more positive way. So it's sort of in the sort of foundational aspect that they can then build on to do their tasks.
Thank you, Karen. I feel very hurt. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. AC, I'll talk to you. Yeah. Okay. I like how Jennifer sort of brought in the the sort of importance, the importance for humanity, if you like, for this kind of work, yeah, that's something that I've been particularly passionate about with schools or with children, because I see that that's potentially it's such an important kind of pivotal part of society, because it takes all of the past, but it's also our future. So it's kind of, it's shaped by traditions, but it's also supposed to be shaping our future as well. So I think it's a really key part of society, if you like, of our structures and systems. The educational system is very important.
So what Jennifer said about humanity is really resonating with you, and seeding, you know, further thoughts about the role of like the personal aspect within the educational system and how to connect beyond just like the checklist and robotics of it.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest sticking points I've had, I guess, is how to get across the complexity, how we seem so brainwashed in our kind of way of being. It's like, how do we shift that? And I suppose I see empathy circles, a bit like Bill was saying, is like that foundational thing that we can at least start to have the questions on the table, be listened to, collaborate, talk, so we can start asking those really important questions and really starting to understand those really important things.
So when you say complexity, I hear that as complexity in humanity, if that's right?
Yeah, there's complexity in just our world and in society, and for us to understand, it's too difficult for one person to understand. We need everyone. Sorry, this is actually going on to a different point. I'm not repeating what I've said, but thank you for asking that question. I'm building. Yeah, I think the main point I guess I was making is that empathy circles at least gets us foundationally asking those really important questions that we all need to really start to consider if we're going to make those big changes in our society that we need to make. But we need to do it. We need to do it together. And this is a really good way for us to start to collaborate.
Okay, I think I understand that better now. So the complexity of like the whole bigger picture of things. When we're considering that, you said that we've been like conditioned and kind of brainwashed in our ways to deal with it, and so you feel that the empathy circle practice, like Bill was saying, lays a really solid foundation and gives us like the appropriate tools to start looking at that bigger picture and those complexities in meaningful ways that we can have the necessary discussions about them.
Perfect. You said it much better than I did. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I feel heard for now. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Karen. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, okay.
Jennifer, I haven't spoke to you. Can I speak to you?
Can you do a British accent, AC?
I could try, but
No
I will be embarrassed. By
I'll take you
That
out.
was great. It's much better than my American accent, so well done.
Yeah, so I want to call back a bit to the topic of conflict resolution and using the empathy circle to process and unravel conflicts that are held, in part because of like events that have transpired over the past, I guess, couple months. Insofar as like interpersonal conflicts that have been like very taxing, and certainly like this practice has guided me through those conflicts between people. But I also think there's a large potential to use this process to deal with like internal conflicts as well. And then
Okay.
yeah, and building on this notion of complexity and just like how much data we even have to take in to try and understand the world. There's a lot. There's a lot that I have to say, I guess.
Okay. Before you go on and further, because I'm really kind of intrigued, you are taking us kind of on a different and really interesting path in terms of applying this model to conflict resolution. And you've talked about, you know, how you've actually been able to apply it in situations of conflict with other individuals, but you're also kind of interested in delving deeper or pursuing this application of this model for dealing with the internal conflicts that maybe arise from a lot of, I know I talked about social unrest and things, and Karen has talked about the complexities of society and the world. But being able to use this model of empathy circles to kind of help process those internal conflicts that you're actually having within.
Yeah, very much so. And I almost see them as like just two sides of the same phenomenon. And it's just, it's case-based, whether we have that conflict with other people or whether we're having that internally, or even like, you know, the Venn diagram kind of intersection of the two, because I know that internal conflict can cascade into interpersonal conflict when, say, like, I don't know what I want out of a relationship, and therefore my partner is all like, oh, well, you don't know what you want out of a relationship. And it's like, yeah, I guess that's a problem.
So you're seeing that the model, I think the value of the model and being able to apply it, again, both to external conflicts or conflicts between other people or between yourself and other people, but then also, again, those kind of internal conflicts. And then you're making the connection between you know, those internal conflicts can sometimes develop or result in conflicts that you're having with other people. And you used an example of, you know, your partner and, you know, I'm relating to the relationship and I may be struggling within the relationship and having feelings about that. And as a result, then that's going to impact my relationship, which results in an external conflict with my partner. And vice versa, I would imagine. So yeah, like you're really interested, I can see in that application.
Yeah, totally. And the so that the aspect of this practice that I think or that I'm really paying a lot of attention to lately is this aspect of pace, and just kind of slowing down the thought process and the communications, right? Because all the well, as far as I understand currently, at least 90% of conflict is going to arise from communication issues or like miscommunications. And so by using this as a tool to set the pace and kind of just like slow down how much things are getting mixed together, intertwined and like aggravated or elevated, I think like that pace, that aspect of pace is the aspect that's really foundational to the practice and really foundational to the connection that will resolve and heal like some of these conflicts.
Okay. So what I'm hearing, and you can clarify for me if I'm kind of wrong on any of these, AC, but this kind of interest or this focus that you have in terms of the actual empathy circle process, this focus on pace or maybe the slowing down is kind of what I'm getting in terms of being able to listen more accurately and more effectively, so that there aren't these miscommunications, which you feel, you know, contribute to the majority of conflict. Hi, somebody. And so that you're optimistic about by actually, you know, utilizing a process like this, which allows us to slow down and kind of hear each other, there are fewer opportunities for those misinterpretations, and as a result, less conflict arises.
Yeah, totally. Or even if it still does arise, I think it doesn't go to the same level, and it's easier to hang on to, or not hang on to, but like to address.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Yeah, so that it may not escalate even if it does arise, or you may be able to address it or resolve it more easily by slowing down.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I feel heard.
Cool. Thanks, AC. Thank you. Hey, Kate, do you want to give it a go?
Okay. Oh God.
I'm worried about you. I'm worried about you bleeding out. Are you okay?
No. I'm okay. I'm okay. Yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm just laughing at myself because I feel like I'm being ridiculous. Like I'm not being very focused. But yeah, please tell me.
It's all good. It comes with practice, I think. Yeah. And this has been a good exercise for me too, because I think it's very difficult for me when people are speaking my mind just starts to race, and I have thoughts and I have opinions about what they're saying, and I may have feelings that arise that I want to express to them. So for me, it is extremely challenging to just kind of listen with an objective ear and not add any judgment or value to what they're saying, and just be able to reflect it back.
Yeah, that's very interesting what you're saying, because I think it's quite natural as well when you're listening to somebody to quickly come up with, I don't know, a question because you're interested in what they're saying, to interject and maybe give like your opinion as well. So yeah, to just sit back and to listen and to digest can sometimes not be a complete natural response.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the other challenge, and I'm really excited about Edwin and Bill maybe to talk more about this during the debrief, is when we talk about empathy, that idea of maybe kind of that affective aspect or the emotional expression of empathy, and how do we demonstrate that type of connection through reflective listening when we're not necessarily communicating our emotions back to the speaker. So for me, that's really fascinating. And I know Edwin had, talked, I think, in some of his stuff on the webpage, maybe I had seen about how listeners, sharing, judgments or emotions or opinions during their reflection kind of gets in the way of that person's ability to share. So just the whole dynamic is really interesting to me. So I'll stop there. That's a lot.
That's very interesting what you're saying. And it seems, very accurate what you're saying. In terms of, just saying that, for example, it's very hard to be an active listener, you were saying, and to digest and process, but without empathizing at the same time, without putting your emotion into it too, to sit back and to kind of connect, but also at the same time to not completely put your emotions in there and empathize, because empathizing includes your emotions too, right?
Yeah, no, true. And I think what's interesting is it's kind of what Edwin has been preaching is kind of manifesting itself through this process for me, because even though I share something and, AC may not say, I feel you, this is, kind of, or Karen says, I can relate to that. I had a similar experience. This is how I felt about it. I'm kind of feeling those connections develop, even though we're not expressing them. So, for me, it's kind of a really fascinating phenomenon, just this idea of providing objective space.
Yeah, so what you're saying as well is that, this empathy circle is kind of, it shows so much importance to all of us within this group, and how purposeful it actually is, and how relevant and needed it is. I think that's what you're saying. Is it?
It is, yeah. I think I'm definitely thinking and feeling those things. I think I'm also, what I'm saying is that I find it fascinating that we're able to make that connection without actually communicating feelings. If that makes any sense. So
yeah, no, definitely, yeah, exactly. To step back and to listen and to digest and to connect and understand, but without sharing an opinion.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I feel heard.
Okay.
Thanks, Kate.
So we're coming to the end of our time, and I thought maybe I could just do a short listening to Rita, since she didn't have a chance to really speak, and then we can do a debrief. Rita, would you like to just share something, and I'll be the listener, just so you have a chance to get heard?
Well, I want to say so many things, but I don't want to seem like I'm complaining,
Okay, so what I'm hearing is you have a lot of things you'd like to say, but you don't want to sound like you're complaining. Is that?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Is there more?
Well, right now I'm trying to figure things out with regards to my kids, because I pulled them out of school, and there's a lot of things going on in my life, and I'm just trying to find my path. So I'm a little overwhelmed.
Yeah, so I'm hearing you're feeling overwhelmed. You pulled your children out of school, and just there's a lot going on, and feeling a sense of overwhelm, and trying to find your path now.
Yep. But I'm glad I've seen how these empathy circles are affecting the people in it. Like, I've seen how the people are responding, what they're saying, and I think this is really something that I want to pursue in the future.
Yeah, so I'm hearing that you were observing how this has been impacting the others in the circle, and you're thinking, it's something you'd like to pursue. And your child is there too.
Yeah.
Wants a voice.
Yeah. There.
Hi. Good.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you're giving me this opportunity, because I felt like I really wanted to share, but I thought it's coming to a close. So I missed my opportunity for this time.
Yeah, I'm hearing that you have some appreciation. You have a chance to share now because some things were coming up for you, and but it was coming to a close, so you're maybe holding back. But now you get a chance to speak, and you appreciate that.
Yeah, there's not many times in society where you actually can talk and be heard, and I don't have that much of that experience in my life, so I kind of want to pass that on to my children.
Mm. Yeah, so you're finding that in life, there's not a lot of places where you can kind of share and really be heard, and sort of that way of being is something you want to pass on to your children, that listening and having a space for them to feel heard.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel heard.
You feel heard? Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Great. Glad we could see you at the very end here. And is that child's name?
Yeah, she's my daughter. Her name's Mira.
Oh, Mira.
I also
Hi, Mira.
have a 7.5-year-old upstairs.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Mira. Okay. Well, great. Well, that's we have about 8 minutes until the close. So maybe we just take a minute going around. Just how was that? Was it just kind of a sort of a debrief? Maybe we'll start with Jennifer. Would you like to go?
Yeah. No, I think I've expressed my appreciation, so I will, I'll echo it again though. I appreciate all you guys participating in the process, and I'm starting to kind of see, I realized today we were just talking about the circles and the application of the circles, but starting to imagine some of these things. Like I know Karen kind of looked like she had some of the issues that she might want to address during these groups spread out on her desk. And so just thinking about how some of the more complicated or controversial or emotionally charged things would work as topics of focus during this process. So I'm optimistic, and I definitely want to continue on this journey. So thank you guys.
Great, thanks. Kate, would you like to go?
I just want to say thank you to everybody, because I felt like I've learned something today in quite a short space of time. And to listen, I think sometimes I can try and relate to people, but also by giving my story as well. But yeah, it's nice to kind of learn how to sit back and step back and listen, but without also sharing, but acknowledging. Yeah, so thank you everyone. And also, Karen, can I ask you as well if you could share some of the books that you've read, because you said that you've read a lot about empathy and sociological books and kind of things related. So if you could share those, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm really happy to. It's mainly around societal things and economic models, and but yeah. I think Edwin's the empathy king in terms of empathy books. But
okay, yeah, and Edwin, if you could send some stuff. But yeah, Karen, I'd like that as well, because I study sociology and I read a lot of that. But if you can just, that'd be great.
Yeah, very happy to.
Thanks.
Shall I go next?
Yes, please go ahead. Yes, Karen.
Just to echo, as everyone said, really appreciate this opportunity. I think I've expressed that before, and I just wanted to say particularly thank you, Edwin, Bill, for that offer of support, which I realised I didn't acknowledge in the last talk. And I had this moment of that kind of old habit of slight panic of, oh God, I didn't say something. But I thought it's okay, you can say it next time, and there's always the opportunity. And I think it's just a gift really to humanity, this whole process. So really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Well, I'd like to repeat, I really feel, stimulated, and I want to thank everybody for bringing what they brought here. And I think that's a key factor of the empathy circle, because everybody has a chance to speak. You're exposing yourself, and I feel the growth. I felt it here, and I'm excited to work with you in whatever aspect seems comfortable. Thank you all.
AC, thanks.
Thanks. I'm super grateful to just take the time for the practice and to meet all you and see your faces and as well to relate just on that, like, that like deeper level that's like Jennifer was saying, so, you know, it's not necessarily as explicit, but it's like definitely present, and really energizing for sure, right? I just appreciate the time and the perspectives and thank you for listening and sharing.
Great, it was good to see you again. So Rita, it's like the final words.
Well, just thank you to both of you and to everyone who shared, and I look forward to seeing more of you guys next week.
Okay, well, great, thank you. So that is it. We have Friday at the same time, same URL. The topic is about the culture of empathy. What are the values of a culture of empathy? So the empathy circle sits within a larger philosophical value system of you know, mutual empathy, care, authenticity, etc. And we talk about those values on Friday. You just what values do you see as part of a culture of empathy? And then next Tuesday, same time, we'll just be doing what we did here today. So you can continue for anything that wasn't said. You can come and say it here as well. And hopefully you had the links there for does everybody have the links for, you know, for signing up in that page that I showed, the Facebook page is sort of the gateway, you know, all the information kind of links from there. In terms of books, you can go to cultureofempathy.com, and that's sort of my main website for all the interviews I've done. I don't think I've interviewed any sociologists, but, you know, just a lot of educators, academics, teachers, just a wide variety of interviews about empathy are there. So that's cultureofempathy.com if you want to sort of dig deeper. So that's it. Thank you very much. We'll look forward to seeing you next week if you can make it. Any other question, Karen? Or
sorry. Yes, just in terms of if I wanted Kate asked for some books. So in order to connect with anyone here, is there a way of doing that or sharing?
You can put your email quickly in the, if you want to share your emails and and I'll put mine in there into the chat. Always Rich at gmail.com. So that's my email. You can always contact me there if you want to put your contact info in.
And one very quick technical question. Mm-hmm. As a passive listener, is it okay to nod or because I realized I was nodding all the way through and I thought, is that okay to do that, or would we be a bit more passive?
Yeah, it's fine to nod. It's you know, it's kind of flexible. You know, it doesn't have to be really rigid about, you know, totally. So I tend to nod and, you know, give encouragement emotionally. Yeah, definitely. So so it's a bit of flexibility around that.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, everybody have the contact info before we close. Make sure you don't lose that. You can also, next to the file, it says save chat. That'll also save, so you can copy and paste all those emails, or also do a save chat. You know,
thank you.
Stop